No, it adds an import links it. Yep. Obviously, the resulting HTML and JavaScript is the linking, right? But that's done by the transpiler. The transpiler, parses all this and generates the appropriate HTML and the appropriate JavaScript to make this happen. So yeah, this is a level of abstraction. It's a just jQuery was a very thin layer of abstraction. React is a much thicker layer of abstraction. Angular is even thicker. Right, that's Angular has a higher level learning curve. And React is a fairly shallow learning curve. But hopefully, by the time we get to Angular, you've already learned what a single page application is, what components are, so that we don't need to relearn any of that. So it'll be much easier to jump into Angular because you already know all these concepts, right? So the other thing was, if I click on the course, presumably I would like to show the course editor, right? So let's do that. So here in the course manager, remember that we're using toggle to toggle between table and grid. Well, we could also maintain a state saying, should I show the editor or not? I would say, show editor, or I don't know, something like editing course, and it might be false, right, at first. And so we can use this flag to drive whether we should show the editor or not. Okay, so we'd say, well, if this dot state dot editing course, if it's true, then you show the editor. If not, you don't show the editor. But remember that because we want to be able to navigate to the course editor, we would have to hide everything else. We have to like toggle between the list of courses and the editor, and then go back and forth, as if you were navigating to a separate screen and then coming back from that screen. Right? So that means that this and everything else, all these would be mutually exclusive. Either I show one or the other. Right? So I can wrap this inside of a div, this whole thing, and decide that I'm not going to show this if I'm editing the course. So I'm going to say, this says if I am not editing the course, then I am going to show my course manager, my list of courses. So there it is. So I'm rendering the course manager, right? Or if I am editing, if this is true, then I show the course editor. So now I need some mechanism to toggle that flag. Yes, right? So that's easy, right? Like what I could do is in the course table, right? The course table is rendering all these rows. So here's the row. So way down here, right? That course title I could render as a hyperlink. Right? And if I click on that hyperlink, somehow I need to go all the way up and change that state for my parent. Okay, so it's a little inconvenient because the state is being maintained by my parent. Right? I need to notify of the event and bubble up that event all the way to my parent, who can change the state. I can't change the state. Right? So what I'll do is that in the course manager, we're going to provide a function that says, maybe we'll call it, show course editor, right? And this will set that variable to true. So this dot, set state editing. What was it called? What I called it? Editing course. True. And hide the course editor. Right, which will be the opposite, right? And then show it to false. Yes. Notice that that I implemented it differently from toggle. We could have used toggle, right? Notice that in toggle, the implementation was, I'm looking at the previous state or the current state. If I'm looking at the current state, and if the current state is layout, I switch it to table. If it's table, I switch it to grid. It's toggling between the two. So there I use this syntax where I need to know the previous state to calculate the next state. Yes? In that case, we use the syntax where the set state is expecting a function, right? And in that function, the infrastructure passes me the previous state or the current state. Yes? Right? If I don't need the previous state, I can use an easier syntax where I just return the state. Right? Here, because I am showing the course editor, meaning I want to make it to true, I don't care what it was before, I don't need the previous state, right? I can use this simpler syntax where I can just pass the object that I want to change, the state that I want to change. Make sense? I'm not asking for the previous state. I am blindly changing this to true, regardless of what the previous state was. Make sense? Okay. So I can use this simpler syntax. So if I don't need the state, I can use the simpler syntax. Or if I need the previous state, then I need to use the other more complex syntax, right? I can always use this syntax. I can always use this syntax if you just want to learn one of them, right? This works well for both cases, whether you need it or not, right? But this one is simpler. All right, so I need to toggle. I need to call these guys, right? From where? From so from the course table, I'm going to pass it down to the table so that the table can then pass it down to the row. I can pass it down to the row. This is so inconvenient of going back and forth, right? That some folks call this property drilling. You're drilling down all this property down to where you actually need it at the leaf of this hierarchical tree, right? And then you have to bubble up all this, call it, and then it bubbles all the way up. And that's what Redux is going to fix next week, right? And that's what hooks fixes. If you're familiar with hooks, that's also another mechanism that fixes this issue, right? Of having to go back and forth between the components, right? It's very, very awkward. So here is where, right? If I have a hyperlink, if I have this hyperlink of the title, I can click on it. On click, I'm going to call show course editor, which you passed to me. All right, and we can make this render as a hyperlink. So let's go to the course manager and make this false to start. False. All right. So if I click on the course, right, it shows the course editor. See that? Right. And I also need a mechanism to go back. Meaning I need maybe a button here in the course editor that hides the course editor. Right. So let's do that. So in the course editor, in course manager, I can pass. Where's the course manager? I can pass this hide course editor. I can pass it down to the course editor. Here's the course editor. I can pass down the hide, which is a reference to the current function. So the course editor can maybe have a button here. It says button close to close the course editor, and we can call the function that is being passed to us on click and call that function. Right. So that if I navigate to the course editor, I can close it and go back to the course manager. Right. I can still toggle. Right. I don't have the links here in the course grid. Right. But I can navigate here and go to the course editor. That makes sense? Yes. Everybody still with me? All right. Awesome.